In situations where the apparatus is being driven on public roadways, gaining entry to roadways, or moving through limited height areas, the driver-operator must allow appropriate space around the apparatus to avoid striking objects or overextending into adjacent lanes of traffic. To effectively develop a driver-operator candidate's spatial awareness of the limitations imposed by the dimensions of the apparatus relative to its environment, and to reinforce the principles of frequent mirror usage, vendor judgment, and the importance of properly positioned spotters, NFPA 1002 specifies a diminishing clearance exercise that every candidate should be able to successfully perform before being authorized to drive the apparatus. Driver Operator Skill 6, Driving Apparatus Through Areas with Restricted Horizontal and Vertical Clearance, is a TCFP skill objective that assesses the candidate's ability to steer the apparatus in a straight line, to judge distances from wheel to object, and to stop at a predetermined finish line. The restricted horizontal clearance course for this exercise is represented by two parallel boundary lines forming a 75-foot lane. The lane for engine apparatus is marked in yellow and varies in width from 9 feet 6 inches at its widest point to a diminishing clearance of 8 feet 2 inches. Cone markers will be placed along the exterior edge of the appropriately colored lines denoting the boundaries of the lane as appropriate for the type of apparatus in which the candidate is testing. A finish line is established 50 feet beyond the narrowest end of the lanes. What follows is a demonstration of the performance standards of Driver Operator Skill Number 6, Driving Apparatus Through Areas with Restricted Horizontal and Vertical Clearances. The objective of this performance standard is for the candidate to effectively maneuver the fire apparatus in areas of restricted horizontal and vertical clearances, and to demonstrate the ability to identify vertical clearances that are too low for the apparatus to safely pass beneath before striking an obstruction. A minimum of 14 out of 20 possible points and all pass-fail elements are required to successfully complete this skill. In accordance with AFD General Order E13 Safe Driving Policy, the use of a backing guide will be permitted during the backing elements of this test. A 360-degree visual inspection around the apparatus should be conducted before entering the apparatus. Failure to perform this pre-trip inspection will result in a 3-point deduction. The candidate should then enter the apparatus using available steps and handrails to lift themselves into the cab. The use of the steering wheel for this purpose will result in a 1-point deduction. All mirrors should then be checked and adjusted for proper positioning. Failure on the candidate's part to verify appropriate mirror setting or to properly use the mirrors to correctly judge apparatus clearance will result in a 2-point deduction. Prior to moving the apparatus, the candidate must engage all available passenger restraint devices and ensure that no other personnel inside the apparatus are in a standing position. Moving the apparatus prior to addressing these two safety elements will result in the candidate's immediate failure. Once the candidate has verbalized to the examiner that all pre-trip tasks and checks have been completed, they may begin the forward horizontal element of the skill assessment by moving the apparatus through the widest point of the lane, obtaining and maintaining a minimum speed of 20 miles per hour, and maneuvering the apparatus along a straight path through the lane and out the narrowest portion. Once clear of the lane, the apparatus should be brought to a smooth, controlled stop within 18 inches of the finish line, with the candidate maintaining a normal seated position in the driver's seat. From a starting position at the finish line, the course will then be negotiated in reverse. There is no required minimum speed for the backing portion of this element. Movement should be smooth and slow with consideration given to the mobility of the backer. Once the front bumper of the apparatus clears the final markers at the widest point of the simulated alley, the horizontal element of this performance objective shall be deemed complete. Several elements of the horizontal clearance segment of this skill objective are pass-fail in nature, and certain inappropriate actions on the part of the candidate will result in point deductions. Failing to maintain a minimum speed of 20 miles per hour during the forward element of this skill will result in a 5-point deduction. It is important to remember that while tire contact with the boundary lines is permitted, contact between the apparatus and the cone markers bordering the lane at any point in the exercise will result in the candidate's immediate failure. Stopping the apparatus well short of the finish line and then creeping toward the finish line in an uneven manner, extending the bumper beyond the boundary set by the perimeter line, or leaning forward from a normal seated position in the driver's seat will be deemed demonstrative of an inability on the part of the candidate to accurately judge apparatus clearance and will result in a 2-point deduction. Here is an example of the horizontal clearance element of this skill objective being performed in its entirety in an engine apparatus. A minimum of 14 out of 20 possible points in all pass-fail elements are required to achieve a passing score for this skill. This concludes this tutorial of Driver Operator Skill 6, Driving Apparatus Through Areas with Restricted Horizontal and Vertical Clearance. For detailed recommendations on techniques to develop the proficiencies tested in this performance skill objective, refer to the document entitled Driving Course Teaching Points included in the Module 3 resources for this course.